So we've basically gone from the garbage we'll do in The Force Awakens to the garbage we'll have to do for Disney's Star Wars strategy, huh? I mean, they keep pumping out content, and while some of it's great, most of it feels like it's just barely holding the fan base together. We get glowing reviews from critics and big box office numbers, sure, but how much of that is people just sticking with Star Wars because it's Star Wars? It's like they know it's not as good anymore, but they'll take what they can get.
Right. It's like we've reached this point where Disney is just hoping the brand itself is enough to keep people invested. I mean, yeah, The Force Awakens was a massive hit, but they basically copied the plot of one of the original Star Wars movies. And after that, we've been all over the place. The sequel trilogy alone was a mess with no real plan, and it showed. First, Rey is a nobody, then she's a Palpatine. Like, pick a story and stick to it, and then the standalone films. Rogue One was solid, but Solo, that movie tanked so hard it made them hit the brakes on any more standalone projects.
Exactly. And the thing is, Disney has the resources to make amazing Star Wars content, but they keep tripping over themselves. It's like they're trying to figure out how to make everything as big as the Marvel movies, but Star Wars isn't Marvel. You can't just slap together a bunch of projects and hope something sticks. Look at all the directors and writers who've been attached to projects only to leave or have their work scrapped entirely.
Seriously, it's like they're so afraid of making a wrong move that they just end up making no moves at all. How many times have they announced a new movie or show only for it to quietly disappear? Remember when they were hyping up Rogue Squadron with Patty Jenkins? Yeah, that's probably never happening. And now, after all this time, their big idea for the next Star Wars movie is a longer episode of The Mandalorian. Don't get me wrong, I love Mando, but if that's their best idea for a return to theaters, we're in trouble.
It's a revolving door of chaos. How do you go from promising an entire trilogy by Rian Johnson or the Game of Thrones guys to nothing? And that's the thing. The Mandalorian was the one truly great success Disney had with Star Wars TV, but even that stumbled in its latest season. Now, instead of building on what worked, they're just spinning off in all these random directions. We had the Book of Boba Fett, which was basically 2 Mando episodes shoved into a series about a character who barely did anything. And don't even get me started on the whole Mando and Grogu will get their own movie thing. I love those characters, but is that really the most exciting idea they could come up with?
Exactly. It's like they're throwing darts at a wall and hoping something sticks. And then you've got the 6 live action shows Disney has cranked out. Only The Mandalorian is really hitting the multi-season mark. Everything else feels like a one-and-done deal where they don't know what to do next. Obi-Wan Kenobi was cool, but it was a limited series and we haven't heard anything about a second season. Andor was critically acclaimed, but the ratings didn't match up, and who knows if casual fans are even going to care about the second season.
Exactly. And then there's Ahsoka, which had some good moments, but it didn't light the world on fire like they were hoping. And now they're releasing Skeleton Crew soon, which sounds like a decent concept. But at this point, I'm not sure how much faith I have left in Disney's ability to execute. They talk a big game about pushing new stories, but so far it's felt like they're just relying on the same old formulas and characters to keep the wheels turning. It's like they're scared to truly take risks.
Right. And the worst part is they keep flip-flopping between focusing on movies and TV. First, they push the films, then they switch to TV with Disney Plus, and now they're scrambling back to movies again. Make up your mind. Star Wars is supposed to be about big screen epic stories, but they're struggling to deliver on that promise. Even the new stuff they're working on, like the Dawn of the Jedi or whatever Taika Waititi's film is supposed to be, feels like it's constantly on the verge of collapse.
It's so frustrating because we know Star Wars can still be great. We've seen glimpses of it with The Mandalorian, Rogue One, and even Andor. But it's like Disney just can't get out of its own way. They're either rushing projects out too fast, like Bob Iger admitted they did with the movies, or they're dragging their feet and letting projects fall apart behind the scenes. If they don't get it together soon, they're going to burn through whatever goodwill the fan base is left.
Exactly. At the end of the day, Disney's not bad at Star Wars, but they could be so much better. They've got this massive, passionate fan base, and all we want is for them to stop tripping over themselves and deliver the kind of content that lives up to the legacy. Star Wars deserves more than this good enough approach. The franchise is still standing, but if Disney wants it to thrive, they've got to stop relying on the brand name and start focusing on quality storytelling again.